Good evening. So last week, as we were finishing, remember family rules. Okay, so this is the book we're working through, yeah, and we're on chapter 3. And Gabby fired a question to me, yeah, about a family rule that she said she had. Now, we didn't have time, so I thought we'd open it up this week so that the therapists on here or those who are just interested, you can get an insight as to why what Gabby said definitely is not a family rule. Is that interesting? I don't find it. Now I've sort of broke it up on our YouTube channel, but let's have a look here. What I want us to do is, has everybody managed to download the most recent paper we've just had published? Yeah, you've seen the hidden family rules paper. No, so I was looking puzzled, so that's okay. You haven't done it yet. That's okay. I'll show you on here. Let me see. Share screen. I'll show you on here what I'm getting at. Right then, everybody see the image here? So, Gabby, can you put your microphone on so that we can hear you? Gabby. Gabby, maybe not. You haven't put your microphone on. Ask to unmute. Somewhere on there will be a button.
Yes.
There you got you.
Okay. Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So, just to recap, can you remember what you actually said to me last week about not being able to get angry or something, wasn't it?
Yes. It is about when somebody gets angry at me, with me. I'm not angry, but they are. I can't stand it.
You can't?
I can't manage it.
You can't manage it. Somebody gets angry with you, you can't manage it.
Yes.
And so what do? You run away or what do you do?
I...
All right, pause. We just saw what you did. Okay, yes. Right. So we'll move on. Right then. Next.
Yeah.
You then said it's a family rule, didn't you?
I thought so.
You thought so, right? You've had a week to rethink this, but here we go. Who told you it was a family rule?
Nobody.
So how did you think it was a family rule?
Because my father was in... I'm sorry. My father was in war. What's the I hear somebody else talking.
Hello?
Hello?
Hang on.
My phone. Oh, they are. That's it.
Somebody. They've gone quiet. That's good. Right then.
Sure. Because my father was at wartime in 1945. And he had a row with a Russian guy. And at home, we were not allowed to quarrel with each other because he couldn't stand it, that we argued with each other or talk loud or will be angry with another.
Yeah. Now, did your father threaten to kill you?
No, not at all. No, he was the nicest man of the world.
Exactly. Right then. So if we're looking at the image now,
yeah,
what Gabby's explaining, I'll make the image larger for us, yeah?
Thank you.
So does it sound like Gabby's father was no rules for me, my rules for you?
No.
Does it sound like he was an enforcer?
Not at all.
Not at all. Does it sound like he would punish her to the point of if she did anything wrong, she would be seriously in trouble?
No.
Does it sound nothing?
Not.
Right then. So
it was just not done.
That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is family rules are subconscious. So if your client has read my book and then presents with, I think my family rule is X, they're incorrect. By virtue of the fact they can bring it to the surface, it's not a family rule. And what I mean by that is it's not my definition of what a family rule is. Yeah.
Okay.
In this academic structure, yeah, and in the structure and definition in my book, it is not a family rule.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, there can be rules in the family of wipe your feet, be quiet, brush your teeth. They're rules, yeah, but they're not rules that mean life and death.
No, not it
You
was
see what I
not
mean?
that. Yes.
Right
Okay.
then. So I don't, straight off the belt, we position that separately. So now we can see we're not actually talking about a family rule. Is that okay?
Yes. Okay.
Right now, so I'll come back to everybody. I'll stop the share. Right now, back to Gabby. Now, is there a way of me making Gabby so she's just like there? Right. So we've got Gabby on the main. Okay, everybody.
Yeah.
Right then.
Okay.
Bam, bam, bam. Nothing changed for you, by the way. It's everybody else who sees on the main screen.
Okay. Yeah.
So then, Gabby.
Yeah.
Oh, Amanda, do you have a question now?
No, I don't think has it changed for everyone else because it didn't change for me. No, it didn't change. I think it's just on yours.
Oh, is it just for me then? Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, that's okay then, because if you watch a video afterwards, you'll get a big picture of Gabby. Right?
What you can do is if you go on to Gabby's right on the top right-hand corner and click pin, those people that want to see a full screen picture of her can do.
Okay.
Is that okay? So if you want to see a bigger image of Gabby, I'm chatting to the little one who's supporting Sarah, right? If she pushes the button that'll make on Gabby, it'll come a bigger picture. Okay. Right. And so we can watch her. Okay. Right then. Gabby.
Yes.
Tell me, what was your presenting problem again? I forgot.
Okay. I can't stand when somebody yells at me and is angry with me.
Right. Now pause. This, whenever I'm teaching, this is when a student will come up to me and say, their eyes haven't moved. That makes sense?
Yes.
Right. And this is when I'll say, you weren't looking. Because your eyes, now, Amanda, smile, big grin. That's right. Okay. Your eyes have two options here. When it comes to a threat response,
Yes.
they either fixate, which is, so long as I can see you, then I will survive.
Okay.
And so we lock on, we fixate, and so long as we can keep our eye and the distance, we will survive. Then, and this is more appropriate to Gabby, we have aversion. So long as, yeah, you can feel it now.
Yes, I can. I know the feeling.
So long as I don't look at you, then I will survive.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
That's what you're doing.
Yes, I know I do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sarah, is that okay? We're following just a little nod and okay. So either we lock on or we don't look at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
so now we've established straight away what the presenting issue is. And that piece is outside of Gabby's awareness. I've just brought it into her awareness. Yeah. But it does not connect to a family rule.
Okay.
It connects directly to an experience. And it's an experience that's actually, it's not from within your family.
It's my own experience.
It's your own.
Yes. I had maybe in earlier times,
Yeah.
I had before. I know.
So there's a lot of options then. Yeah. But for one, as soon as we point out that you're locking down, because it's there.
Yes.
Yeah. And while it remains there, you continue to feel small.
Yes, that's what's happening.
That's what's happening.
Mhm.
So what happens then when you go into an environment or a context
Mhm.
where there's someone who has a certain tone, a certain look, a certain way about them, your system creates that image and you shrink.
Yes.
So you become a child, you become vulnerable, and all you want to do is run away.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a zillion ways of sorting this one. Yeah. Because this we could do a standard swish pattern from NLP. Yeah.
Okay.
But in the first instance, if you take the time to identify it, we're already loosening it. You see what I mean? Because you already think, oh, I see.
That's what I'm doing.
What I'm doing. So now what we're doing is we're raising awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice our client is now jumping about in her seat. The client's getting excited.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you asked Gabby 10 minutes ago, would she be excited about facing someone who she feels is a threat?
Not at all.
She wouldn't be very happy at all.
No.
Yeah. But now she's keen, she's engaged, and she has all of the neurochemistry running that was required in order for her to make the shift.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because when a client comes in, they're boom. They're firing a threat response, their system's heavy, and it's locked into aversion. What we have to do is bring enough information in to loosen it. And you can see she's smiling at this flexibility here. Once we've got that information there, so the client's open, then we can proceed the next steps. But if we don't take the time to install, to open this up, we can sit there until the cows come home. Nothing is going to shift.
Okay.
Is that okay? Everybody okay? Everybody on board so far? Right now. What now?
Now.
Next. Right. Now it's the main event, right? But we have to do this piece quickly. And the reason we have to do it quickly is because the experience originally happened quickly.
That's yes, that's what's happening. Yes. It just goes like this. Yes.
Every time. Yeah. So now that you know it's sort of it's there, yeah. Now this is a bit crazy, but just follow me, right? What I'm going to do is, I want you to close your eyes for a moment, and at the point that image appears, yeah, the eyes that you're using are the eyes of that little girl, and you know that now, yeah.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Now you're a mother now, and I think, are you a grandmother yet, or are you just?
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay, there's a suggestion for the children for next year. But, so you're a mother, yeah?
Yes.
Now, could you use those mother's eyes that you have, and then view through those, and notice how that emotional memory image can shrink? And as it shrinks, can you allow yourself to grow? So that, like a Jack Russell, you know, Jack Russells, they're little terriers. Yeah. It doesn't matter how big the dog is, the Jack Russell it shrinks them all down to size. Yeah. And now I want you to see some 2-meter tall human beings attempting to get angry with you. And then just allow your mother's eyes to view them and hear that little Jack Russell in the side. That's right. And you smile. Then open those beautiful eyes. Yeah. Now, what are you noticing now?
Relaxation.
Now,
Yes.
now, try and think of one of those. You said a colleague or whatever. Just
Yes.
try and think about them now.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
when you're
think I feel more equal now.
yeah, but when you're ready, try and
When I'm ready.
yeah, when you're ready, try and think about like the one you were thinking about last week. Try and think about them now.
Yes, it happened today again.
Oh yeah. What are you noticing now then? Try and run one next week or next year.
Next week.
What are you noticing?
I feel I can breathe again.
And as you start breathing, yeah, obviously that colleague's much taller than you.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Not
would you mind just increasing your size so that they can shrink a little more this time? Yeah.
Yes.
What are you noticing now?
I feel that I can stand upright. I feel bigger, not as small as just a few minutes ago. And I feel I can strengthen my back and not stand like this, but like this.
Yeah.
My shoulders to the back, and just what I'm thinking. Well, what do you want to say?
Bring it on.
Yes.
Whatever.
What do you want to say? Yeah. Bring it on. Yes.
Wonderful. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
how's it feel in your tummy?
As if it's not there. It's not there now. It's nothing the problem.
Yeah. And now you see how simple it is if we get the client into the right position. I think the challenges that removed from pins, so we're back to everyone. The challenge, if we don't take the time to put the client in position, then it's an uphill struggle. Yeah. And if I'd gone with Gabby's suggestion last week, which was Gabby's, it's a family rule. Right. Well, in order for there to be a family rule in place, we have to have a no rules for me, my rules for you.
Okay.
Unless you've got a no in place, you're not going to get the oppression and the manipulation that's needed to create the family rule. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Austin might come in and say, well, what if the no is, I'll just put words in your mouth, because I would have come up with this if it wasn't you. What if the no is a school teacher? Because when we're kids, somebody else that's placed in that same position of trust up until we're like 7, 8 years old can be school teachers. Yeah. And I'd say, well done. Now, then I'd ask for, what is the context? Now, if they could give me the context, I'd know it wasn't a school teacher. And you see what I mean? But I'm saying wade first, because I need to understand, where is your life being threatened? If your life isn't threatened, the family rule cannot, can't happen. It has to be survival connected. Is that all right?
Yes.
Right, now, thank you, Gabby. Have a happy new year, right? I'm going to put you on mute for now and see questions. Nick, you've got to have a question. You are pinging them back in. Come on.
So when you say about survival, is that because our parents we need our parents for survival? So that's why it's got to be in the family, like parents.
If you look at the rejection is a wonderful piece, yeah, because if we're abandoned by one of them, our system, again, remember, we're not chatting about a conscious adult. Oh, well, my mom and dad have said. I'm chatting about a child's mind. If one of them leaves, then there's a direct threat to our survival. So you can understand, and not from a conscious intellectual position, but from young children growing up. If the parents separate, and we've got so many blended families nowadays, yeah? And it all looks wonderful on the surface. So, mom or dad might get a new partner, and it could be amazing. Nevertheless, the threat of the loss has come in. So that's the intricate piece, because it's the abandonment. And with that, you got that sort of breakdown in trust.
So is there usually some form of abandonment in this situation? Family rules comes up
because abandonment and trust. Yeah, that's the fun stuff.
Okay, so then when it comes to the no my, for someone to implement a no my, there's got to be a lack of trust hidden somewhere, subtly pervasive kind of.
Yeah. See, with the that's the idea, is give you guys more to chew on. So when you got a client, you're like, interesting. And bear in mind, I'm looking for chronic conditions. You know what I mean? Really, the stuff that these poor folk have had for years and gone around and gone around and gone around and not got the help. Yeah. Because there used to be a saying in the NHS, in the health service, it used to be a knock or a shock. Yeah, for those of you who are old enough, you'd remember that. They say, oh, it's a knock or a shock caused the disease, like a cancer or, a chronic illness, a knock or a shock. But in recent years, they've got rid of that connection. So now it has to be a biological condition, so that they can give you a medical intervention. And then sadly, you get people who keep going back to the roundabout, or in the UK, it's called the NHS. And you keep going back, have, a new set of pills, and you go around, maybe you get a little bit of it, and you go back, and you see what I mean? It's round and round. But there's nothing new here. The ancient Greeks had the same problems. Yeah. The biggest challenge, and I think Hippocrates pointed it out, said, if you're planning on curing someone, you better make sure they're willing to give up the thing that's making them ill. Just a thought. Questions? Come on. Oh, make me day. Last one before Christmas. You've got lots of questions, I'm sure. Yes, Nick.
Yeah, again. So what you just said then, is it Hippocrates? You said they better be willing to give up what's making them sick, and yet the things that make us sick, we're unconscious to. So how do we go about either revealing, the deletion filter? I mean, it's like a bit of a, oh shit, like shit. Now what?
So, well, if you wanted to do it a conscious way, yeah, you could just, there was a wonderful show on TV I loved. It was called Secret Eaters. Did anybody ever see that one?
Secret Eaters. About it a few times.
I know, I love it. Sorry, I reference it all the time. One of my favorite shows. The other one's Hoarders. I love Hoarders too. But on Secret Eaters, what happens is the person writes in and says, look, I only eat lettuce and I only drink water. That's it. I am an anomaly. It doesn't make sense. I'm the size of an elephant, but I only drink water and I only eat lettuce. Please come and investigate me. So they do. So they spend a day and they wire the entire kitchen up right? And the cameras are on the tap where the water comes from and on the lettuce, yeah? And the person who signed up thinks that's where the cameras will stay. And the cameras do. They point at this tap and this lettuce for a week. It's untouched. It also follows the person outside of their house, where they go to the bakery, the chip shop, they munch, 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 munch. And they film everything that they shovel inside. Then at the end of 7 days, they're invited in and they pull the screen back, and on a table, they have all of the food that they've actually consumed in a week, hypnotically. So they can watch, they can see themselves on camera, they can see themselves eating, and it's like because they're breaking that deletion. And it's I love it. It's a fantastic show to watch because the trance is broken for them. So for many of those people, you see them 6 months later and they've transformed because their deletion filter was brought into their awareness. So a very simple way, and I say simple, the simplest way, if you want to avoid therapy, etc., would be to make a note of everything that you're up to. But it becomes complex, yeah? So if you say you wanted to get slim, right? You could start making a note of everything that goes in there. Now, the act of making the notes will have an impact. Does that make sense? Because as soon as you move from feeling hungry to having to write it down, you're moving your thought waves, you're moving that pattern, you're moving from kinesthetic into auditory. So making that shift on its own can have an impact. But if you have an EMI sitting there, yeah, you more than likely will have an aversion when it comes to getting slim. Yeah, it won't be it will not be a fixation. You know, if I just keep staring at that biscuit, if I keep staring at donut, then I'll survive. Doesn't work like that. It has to be an aversion. So you feel small. And in feeling small, your system can want you to be big. So it's irrational, but it'll drive this. And that would lead on to abandonment too. I get that sometimes if Lisa's, say she goes out for an hour and she's away for 3 days, you know, with her friend having a coffee or whatever. Yeah. See, oh, I'm only out for an hour. Yeah. And 3 days later, she comes back. I've sent out several search parties by then. But she comes back and obviously she hasn't eaten anything, you know, she's probably just had one coffee, never probably had a little piece of cake or anything with it, but it doesn't bother me. Yeah. And I'm just looking down the lens and you know who you are. Yeah. So while she's gone, if I give it too much thought, I could start feeling abandoned. And then I could head into the cupboard and find a biscuit. Num, 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 num. Lisa's favorite biscuits. I might even eat 2. Num, 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 num. Or eat the lot. Num, 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 num. And that'll teach her. She shouldn't have left me on my own. But that never happened. And it didn't happen. And because it didn't happen, I'm like, goody, good, 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 good. Because it's getting ahead of your amygdala, your primitive system. If you can start to really rationalize this, bring it to the surface, you can get ahead of that game. Is that helping? Yeah. So, any more? I love this. I keep saying to Lisa, oh, we've got a whole book here. There's a chapter. There's plenty to go at. There'll be a lot. Oh, thank you, Nick. I'll tell you what, we'll call it the Nick, Matt and Lisa show. How about that then?
So you mentioned in the book, going into synesthesia can be an indication that there is an EMI entwined with a family rule. That caught my attention.
Oh, yes. And you mentioned it when you mentioned that client, that got angry.
Okay.
And you said, who mentioned angry or something, didn't you? Yeah. So automatically they've gone. Now, if you take the time to separate, so if you take the time to mention the stress response, next time out, you mention the stress response, and you mention people either fixate or they avoid. If you tell them up front, that's what they will do. Right? Fixate was they just for Sarah's little one. Fixate is they lock. Yeah, they lock on it. Focus on it. Lock on it. That's fixate. Yeah. And avoid is that one. Yeah. They don't want to look. So if you get that up front, then when you get chatting, say, so what would you like to talk about today? And they go, woof, and say, you're in avoidance. Now you just closed the door. You see, now you got them. Because they can't say, oh no, I was just thinking about them. No. You've just lined them up. Yeah. In sales, it's called closing. Yeah. So you've shut the doors and you set this corridor in motion. But if you don't take the time in the setup, then it isn't any good whining to me afterwards. You see what I mean?
There's so much reframing that we can do within sessions. I mean, yeah, there's just so many like pre-frames to set in. I guess if I knew before they came, if I was as quick as you, then I'd know what pre-frame to be bringing in.
Well, the good news is I only get faster, right? Because I practice. That's it. Yeah, and then that's the most embarrassing part. It's like, well, how do you get to be so good? Well, funnily enough, I keep practicing. Yeah, and there were times when I said, oh, I was a bit slow on that one. But guess what? Then I'll say, I tell you what, and I'll get up and I'll turn around and I'll sit down and say, let's start that one again. Now, if you do that, their subconscious mind will allow you to do that. But what happens is because we're polite and it's come off the rails, we allow it to continue careering off the rails till the end of the session, and we never see them again. I can tell by the chuckles on screen, you know who you're talking. Yep, it's you. Just get up, twirl around, and go delete, 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 and then act like a lunatic, and then sit down and go, I'd like to apologize for what that chap was saying earlier. And I think I'd like to start again right now. Now they're going, what the heck is happening here? Yeah. But it's crazy enough to create a new beginning. You see what I mean? And it also shows them that you have masses of flexibility, which is what they need. Otherwise, you just hitched your wagon to theirs. And it's already off course. Can you see what I mean? You're not going to be able to support them because you sort of linked to it and the two of you are careering off track. So never doubt that you can begin the session again at any point you wish. Remember, especially if they're paying for your time. Questions? Is that all right? Nick, that okay? Or?
Got another question.
Oh, no, brilliant. Why not?
Well, I want to come back to that synesthesia and when there's a family ruling. So just recently, a client, she just gazes out, and then it's kind of potentially nothing to do with the problem, but as soon as that image gets adjusted and played around with, the weirdest changes happen with her. So I wouldn't have had a bloody clue there's a family rule entwined, but potentially if I saw her again, she may do the same thing and keep going off into woohoo, because how do I know what the family rule is? How do I get to the family rule? Is that even something that I could get to? Just supposing that she has got one underlying. I mean, that popped into my mind the moment I read your book was her. It was quite random, but I'm thinking, so now what?
Well, being as how I didn't have the context, however, you give me enough information to go on, right? So if everybody was, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin Nick here so you can watch it on YouTube or whatever, yeah? So, Nick, I'm just going to ask you to, repeat what you just said to me.
Okay, so reading your book, synesthesia can indicate a family rules entwined with it. A client has seen her twice. Each time she's gone off into lights are on, nobody's home, and the images are unusual and empty and don't seem to be indicative of anything to do with the problem. But as soon as they get adjusted, submodalities, what have you, she has the most unusual changes and like really deep, lovely ones. And yet I get a sense after reading about family rules entwined with an image, an EMI, that unless I deal with that family rule, anytime I saw her, she had the potential, anytime she gets a problem, she may have the potential to go in it unless that's untangled.
Brilliant, right then. So if you guys watch this on, if I get the chance over the Christmas, I'll break this down for us because there's a lot of work in here, right? First off, you'll notice that Nick, and please feel free to chip in as we go. Is that okay? So you'll notice that Nick was chatting about a client in the first instance, yeah? However, if you watch the video back, you'll realize Nick's actually talking about herself, yeah? And she says, if I could only show that family rule, yeah? So it's the family rule that Nick has that's causing the mismatch here. So when the client goes into that little trance, Nick falls into it, which you're demonstrating beautifully. And now look at the processing here, right? That's brilliant, right? So your system sent out an SOS, and the universe has supplied you with your family rule and someone else for you to work with.
Of course.
Is that making sense? Fascinating, right? And if you want any telltale signs, Nick can't tell us what the family rule is. Clue number one, right? And every time she comes to mention it, before she produces it, not you, of course, your client, yeah, before she produces it, on behalf of her client, as she's giving, that's right, cover it all up, as she's giving us this information, she even puts in a sharp intake of breath every time she produces what her client was talking about. Now, were you aware of that?
No. And at the same time, it's really easy for me to see her, be her, feel her go into it. And I'm like, I'm just taking myself into it.
Funny that, and you're the one chatting about synesthesia. Yeah.
No, I was just thinking I was being very articulate and clear and expressing the problems about her so beautifully.
Yeah, well, that's funny that you just sort of offered it to her just at the last moment there. However, everything else was definitely all you, which is kind of cool. So let's just try once more. You articulate that again. What were the clients? What were you saying?
If she comes back and I haven't got to her family rule, she's still going to have the potential to do the same problem again and again.
Have you noticed it just doesn't seem to have the same gusto as session number one? That's interesting, isn't it? Busy, busy. And like I say, if you just bring it up to the surface, let a bit of light on there. Yeah, UV is amazing stuff. Right. What are you noticing now?
Oh, I'm amused. I'm very amused. It's so nuts, isn't it? It's, yeah.
Pretty cool, huh? Ah. There you go. See, so that's the beauty of working with these family rules, is noticing. And if you can see where the synesthesia kicks in, which Nick demonstrated, and I'll pull this out and I'll put a little bit of time in on the online thing, yeah, YouTube, right? And I'll put a little YouTube thing together so you can have a look at it. But at no point was Nick actually talking about her client. But she genuinely believed she was, which is hysterical, really, isn't it? Because that's where the fuzzy logic comes in. Big clue. If the client's using fuzzy logic, it's probably going to be a family rule. Yeah. And when you're chatting about the detachment piece, yeah, of your client presents with the detachment piece, yeah. It's just fascinating. Not that that has anything to do with you. Interesting.
Thank you.
Austin! I'm gonna unpin Nick. There you go. You're now unpinned, Nick. Austin, any thoughts? What do we think?
Yeah. So my wonderful mismatch. I do it so professionally. Where does that come from? I'm presuming there's no my in there. The mismatch, you mentioned mismatch in, just as you were talking about, Nick, in terms of that the system almost does it so perfectly opposite. So it shows that the system does know exactly how to get it wrong or to screw it up, because it's a perfect mismatch, presumably.
Because it's always going to come down to survival. I'm just looking for where's the survival stance here. So if we've got one in place, so you'll have it. There's always an EMI. There's always going to be that emotion memory, which will be there. But the threat posed by it must create aversion by virtue of the fact, and if everybody's watching, obviously I've pinned Austin. Yeah, he's just not aware of it yet. But if everybody watched that, you just saw his auditory trace run. Yeah, because his sister went, shit, he's on me, right? So there he is. Yeah. So that aversion comes in, and if you're watching on YouTube later or whatever, you can see that just before I did this, about 30 seconds earlier, Austin actually accessed it, clicked, and went into avoidance. Now he's consciously trying to remember, but he hasn't a chance because I'm a little bit too fast, right? And one day I'll get really slow. Not, right? And so as he accessed it, that piece comes up. How are you feeling right now, Austin?
I'm not allowed to use bad words on the Zoom.
Like, oops. Because if we look at there's trust here, even if we're on Zoom, etc. Yeah, we do trust each other, right? Yeah, exactly, right. And so I have more trust affiliated with his subconscious mind than he does. Yes. So whenever he subconsciously throws one up, I'm always prepared to give him a hand, but I invariably never mention it to him. I just sort of give him a hand and nudge him on his way. And then I just wait until next time round I see him. And then he says, you did something. And I say, did I? Would I? Right? So then we had a comfortable gap then, right? Now, that's right. What are you noticing there now? See,
Intake of breath, yes.
So any other question on that one? See, and that is the beauty of it, because if you do the shift inside of the mismatch pattern, he's consciously left on the outside of it, so he can't get a hold of the thing, which leaves him with that look on his face.
Even though I know I do mismatch. So
Yeah.
how am I consciously aware of being something that apparently isn't accessible if it's not conscious? And yet I do know I mismatch really, really well.
But the piece that's missing is the piece that triggers the moment, that triggers that moment. And that's where you put the interruption in. Because otherwise he's consciously attempting, and then you just start chasing your tail, which is, takes a lot of time. Whereas you're far better off just notice the synesthesia, which fared back then put the interruption into the synesthesia. And you'll notice still yet, we haven't actually stipulated a family rule here. Does that make sense? At no point has Matt gone, the family rule is. However, there's a subconscious given here. And you'll watch that processing. And that's what I'm seeing. The subconscious knows I'm on that rule more than he consciously does. But if you watch the auditory processing, it's, yeah. And inevitably, it sits there within abandonment. Correct? Are you watching? It's lovely. And trust. And you watch it. Bingo. But I'm only reading the non-verbals to ease and release that. Because all that we had was one axis, which is right main center up high. But that's right. Now, what about shut those beautiful eyes of yours then? Your beautiful big brown eyes, that's right. And then let that man that I know view this. Let that man loan those adult eyes and view it across time and space. That's right. Wow. You're doing that beautifully. And as you view across time and space, just allow those beautiful eyes to bring you back to now. That's right. Only as quickly as you can allow yourself to mismatch your mismatching. Since you're so good at it. That's right. And open those beautiful eyes. What are you noticing now?
I was grumpy in there.
And now?
I'm going to have to think about it, you know me. So is consistent convincer connected to mismatching? You're never happy, or
I put consistent convincer. If you look at another way, if you wore sunglasses, right, you'd be consistently convinced it was dark. But as soon as you remove them, everything changes. So if you look at consistent convincer as more than likely having an EMI lodged. So if you remove the EMI, then it allows flexibility in convincer strategies. Just it's a simpler way of looking at it, because remember, time's the only persistent construct that we have. but construct it is. Question. Jeanette, any questions? Fancy a coffee? Anything popping up?
Might have a gin.
Have a gin. Well, we're going to have a vitamin C Christmas drink after this. Yeah. Alabama Slammer. If you look up Alabama Slammer, they're amazing. It's got a lot of vitamin C in there, orange juice and everything. I mean, it's got sugar fest, massive. Right? Having a big, long Alabama Slammer glass. Times 2 or 3. So, any questions? Yeah. I wish I had a penny for every time I asked that question. Nothing? No. Susan, welcome. You missed us last week. I must remember, if we're putting this on, to email Susan, because she's not on the Facebooky thing. She's on something else. So, no questions, nothing at all. Are we going to finish here? Oh, hang on. Oh, she's lent into the book. Nick, you might as well.
I know I had another question, but it's just, it's gone. But maybe that's because
You're busy.
well, yeah, maybe actually I'm too busy. Yeah.
No. Anybody got any questions? Otherwise, I'll just start singing then, should I? God rest you, merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. No? Austin. Why not?
I've got a question, but it's not for you. It's actually for anybody who, if the folk are in Belgium, I do have 2 spaces in the car for people who, if want to join me, coming over on the family rules in January. If they need a lift. The offer's out there.
So if any of you want a lift from Austin to come over to the UK to the course at the end of January, yeah, then contact Austin or give us a shout. We'll put you in touch with them. Yeah, then you can have a lift. How cool. Right. Other than that, we're not, she's got it, right? We're not on next week, but I'll have to come on very briefly because to announce the winner, right? Because some of you have been nominating. We've offered 1 free place. Yeah. And we're pulling the winner out, and we're going to nominate this, give you a shout, tell you who the winner is next week. We'll not bother on the Facebook thing. We'll just put it on and you can have a look. And is that okay? Yeah, so it'll be a real person, like, ooh, who will it be? I don't know. I hope they're not a lunatic. Nick, speaking of lunatics.
So unless I've deleted it, when people are trapped with a family rule, how do we help them untangle it? Because you're also not verbalizing what the rules are, and I'm guessing that doesn't need to be verbalized, because will we ever know what a family rule is, or we're just going to help somehow just by shining a light on? Okay, so I know I'm running a family rule. You shone a light on it. My clients aren't going to know about family rules to the extent that we do. So what light am I shining, let's say, for this client that's me? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yeah. Let me try and put that another way for you. What was my family rule that I wasn't working with just then? Would that help?
So until it's not about me, I'm not going to have a clue about anybody else. Is this fair enough? Actually, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Can you see? So your system will just keep you spinning. Yeah. I mean, that's why I didn't bother having, you saw the session that we ran with Timothy. You saw that one, yeah? Do you really think I bothered having any sort of conversation with Timothy afterwards?
Okay.
Just sent him home to boil. Because and the good news is that you've seen how effortless it is, but you can sense just how busy you are in the nothing. Fascinating. This is a never-ending story. Yes, Amanda. That's wonderful. Hang on, I'm just going to unpin Nick, remove the pin so that we can catch Amanda, who's there. She is. Pin Amanda. I'm getting good at this now. Amanda, shoot.
So you mentioned before that where there's a family rule, there's chronic disease or there's something chronic going on. So, I mean, obviously I know Nick quite well, but she, as far as I'm aware, I don't know, obviously, but she doesn't have a chronic disease.
Ah, see, you pronounce it differently at the end.
What she doesn't have?
A chronic, what was that last word you used?
Okay, disease.
Yeah. And we'll all agree, Nick has a chronic dis-ease.
Okay.
Did
So
that
it's
answer the question?
Yes, it's not just.
There you go.
Thank you.
But it was one, just hang on before you click off, since you're here, right? When you were attempting to describe that piece of Nick, yeah, you moved into mime. Had you noticed that?
Mime.
Yeah. I thought we needed some music to accompany you because you stopped talking, but you continued gesturing, and it's like the words wouldn't come out. So like it was interesting, sort of like the cat had your tongue or something. Anything care to open that up a little? What is there somebody over there that you need to check with before you speak? Or? Yeah, yeah. Do you need to? Yeah. Fascinating, isn't it?
I know that I do have,
Everybody watching the aversion there? Yeah, we're still here, but you're looking down at your toes.
I know that
Check with them.
that I do have communication blocks.
Well, you would with that lot watching you.
I have got a lot better though.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah. Now, I'm smelling Nick's on mute because she's laughing out wholeheartedly at you. So that'll teach you. And obviously, whenever we do this, that's why I love in a training environment, because it's whoever throws themselves in, to save the other one. I think, oh, this will be interesting. As if I was missing something. So it's always fun when it pops in. So there's Jeanette sort of saying, why did you, Amanda, why did you put your hand on? But it's fun because, you're coming next month anyway, aren't you? Right, so we'll make sure we clear that a lot off for you. But because that was that put that blog together about when the cat gets your tongue.
Yeah.
So even though you're an adult woman and you want to speak, there are certain contexts where it pops up, and it's again, you can see very clearly it's an aversion. So you avoid eye contact, which tells us there's a person there and they're looking straight at you. Now, you can get all of that if you watch the feedback on the YouTube thing. You can literally watch the structure and the process of how it happens. So sometimes, even if you just watch yourself doing it, you'll feel it when you're watching it back. So you might even be able to just play with that before I see you. So can you imagine that? You turned up and you think, well, actually, man, I sorted it after that one. I did it myself. Now, not that that's a hypnotic suggestion for any sort of change at all. Do I look like I do that? So did that help?
Yes.
And let's see just how much it will help then now. Right. 1 minute left. With that, we wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Hiya, Hildy. Hey, we wish you a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New
New Year.
Is that all right, gang? Was that a bit of fun? I will get this onto YouTube in the next hour and I'll put the link in and we will raise a glass to your good health, peace on earth, and lots of potty people for 2024. Eh? Did you hear? She's always, if you only put chat things in, Lisa's already on the chats because I can't do the chat and chat. So when you put little comments in there, she's like, "Bah," and keeps that side going. Well, she is literally on the other side there. Right, Lisa, we're turning the camera around.
Hi, Lisa. Hi.
John in the corner. There we go.
Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
No, we don't let him out much, for obvious reasons. Right, Bob.
Okay.
All soon. Right? Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.